Hello and namaste to all the professionals who have taken out time to attend this session today. I am Hiral Vyas from India. And before we go into the session today, a few things about myself. Let me introduce myself. My journey with software industry started in 2001, and while working on various projects and products, I got associated with two international boards, that is iSAQB as a supporting board member and PMI at a local chapter level as a volunteer development owner and representing the Women Engagement Committee over here. My company, HVDSOFT, we are into software consulting services and we are accredited training provider for iSAQB, and we impart training for foundation levels in India and nearby country. Now, with the introduction, by now you might have found it very obvious why the selection of this topic. And the topic here is software architecture and software project management, a joint venture for a software success. Now, why I chose this topic is during my tenure with the software industry, I was fortunate to work on both these topics very closely, and that's where I thought, the software industry gives us a lot of opportunity to explore different disciplines, and we get chance to work on various platforms. So that's where I thought that let me talk about where I felt that there was a joint picture between these two to have a software success, and what are the kind of difficulties which I faced when I played dual role of being both. To start with, we will see some basics. So let's start with software. So we all know that software is nothing but it's a result of some knowledge work, some intellectual process. It's the cognitive work of human brain which goes behind it. It's few lines of codes and text what we do. So certainly it's intangible in nature. Why I brought this point here, you will soon come to know. It's intangible in nature. There are no physical measures for it, like what we can measure, like mass or area or a car manufacturing unit where a car is coming out. This sort of measurement is not there. So certainly it will bring in some challenges, and it brings in an adaptable nature. Now, when I say adaptable nature or when I say a malleable nature of software, yes, there is a positive side of it and there is a negative side of it. And the positive side of it, if we see, then we can bring in new changes. New changes can be easily accommodated. But if we see negative side of it, then sometimes we overdo the thing or sometimes we underperform. So having said this is the reason when a fundamental structure, what we call as software architecture, when the creation of it is happening, or when we are into maintaining that, or when we are into implementing that thing, it brings challenges. So challenges here, and you will soon come to know what are the kind of challenges that come up. Now, let's see what are software projects, because we are going to talk about two topics like software architecture and project management. So let's understand software projects. We all are in this industry from a longer time, and we know these will be not only software projects, but any project is an endeavor which we take to create something, probably where the physical measures are available. The flexibility to modify and extend is less, but in the case of softwares, it is very much possible that generally our projects are to either create new software products or either modify the existing software products or to extend the capabilities of any given product or project which is there. The manager would usually move around the stages, which is like initiating, then we go to planning, executing, monitoring and control and closure. But as we likely discussed, that the malleable and the intangible nature of a software would also bring in challenges to manage and maintain, which I personally call it as a fundamental planning, which is nothing but the project management. So having said this, Now let's see what are the kind of projects we face when in any industry. In any industry, we always have two kinds of things in front of us. One is greenfield and another is the brownfield. When I talk about greenfield, you may be very well able to relate this thing, that as a software architecture professional or as a project management professional, we would wish to have this. It's a dream that we want a greenfield, because that's the place where you can start fresh. Something is getting created, there are no errors, and we learn with the errors. So the flexibility to incorporate your ideas, flexibility to bring in new things is wide over here. Certainly that brings in the scope to regulate or control the process well. But I see greenfield in a little bit different way. Everything new, everything starting fresh sometimes backfires. It's you are lack of the information, you are in the lack of information, and that would really create difficulty. So every time to have a greenfield is not a great thing. We need to face the reality. The reality is the brownfield. And if you can see, I have mentioned that it's not everything is brown. All of my projects, fortunately, I always took it in a way that it's not always brown. It's not always that complicated, or it's not always that I have to struggle with it. Having said that, of course, we have to fit in what is existing. A brownfield, when we say, of course, there is something which we need to either modify or we need to extend. That is the situation which would come up. And software world, yes, brownfield is very much possible. If it is the automotive sector, and if you have to change the car's shape or something, it's not easy. So that would not happen. But for software, it's very much possible. So we see a lot of brownfield over there. And there are errors. We some can be fixed, some cannot be fixed. We need to learn to live with those errors which are there. There is certainly a scope of improvement. If we try, we can fix some of the things out of it. But sometimes it is 50-50 chances. Sometimes it's even lesser than that. But the real fact is these two things are going to be there, and brownfield is on a higher side, which is going to be there. Most of the time, all of us face brownfield projects in our day-to-day work. So whether it is greenfield or whether it is brownfield, we all have common challenges. Whether we talk about software architecture professional or we talk about project person working on project management thing, they both have common challenges. There are many other challenges individually they might be facing it, but here we are going to talk about what are their common challenges. The first thing which comes in my mind is what is needed. Usually we see that the customers, they come up saying that we need a good website. But what do I mean by a good website? Or let's say you are developing a software for some hospital. So as a doctor, maybe from that domain, he might not be able to tell you what exactly is required. He might come and say that I'm just looking for a good website for my hospital, and I also would like to do some management using that. I would like to get online requests from people, online calls I would like to address, but not beyond that. So but most of the time it happens, what is needed is a challenge on both the sides. It more boils down to the uncertainty of the scope. And that is where the first challenge which starts is, what is going to be the life cycle choice? Predictive is something we would like because we are clear, and then we can move to the next level. But nowadays we live in agile world. So of course, adaptive is something which is more of a choice. Iterations and increments are something which is our day-to-day practice nowadays. So both angles, if we see, there will be challenges on life cycle choice too. Let's say if the requirements are clear, then the next question or next challenge, what both the areas faces is, what is the feasibility? So there is a whole, the activity done, which is called as the feasibility study. And majorly it comes to project management professional to do that. And when it comes to design level, it is in the hand of software architecture professional. So next challenge is, what is feasibility? We already talked about what are the changing requirements. They keep on coming because the initial scope is not so clear, or initially the customer is not very clear with the requirements. Of course, rapid rate of change in the technology. Sometimes I feel everybody talks about cloud, everybody talks about microservices. So everybody is talking about Azure or AWS, and so many jargon, so many things are there. So this rapid rate of change and new things coming up, by the time you adapt something, there is something new which is already launched in the market, and your customer just have that in mind, that I want to use this new technology in whatever projects I have. Sometimes the context or the business goals also doesn't get so clear. So these are the challenges which both the areas have to face. Having said this, whether there are challenges, whether it is a greenfield or whether it is a brownfield, some basic tasks, both the sides are to be done. So when let's say some architecture is getting developed, or maybe you're in a brownfield and you are just reviewing the existing one to try to bring in some changes, even though all these activities what you see here on the screen, so analyzing the requirement. Why I have mentioned analyzing the requirement, we are going to see it in the next slide. So first thing will be analyzing the requirements or clarifying the requirements, working on the design, coming with the design solutions, then ensuring that it is well in line to what the business has asked for. So evaluation is something, an activity which is to be done when the software architecture is getting created. Then later on, once a draft is ready, then it has to be like communicated to the people, respective audience. The next step would be how the implementation will happen. How are you going to support that particular implementation? How are you going to be a guide? So these are the basic activities when you talk about software architecture being created or evaluated or reviewed. These are the activities which you anyway have to do. On the similar grounds, when the work is being done on the project management for any given software project or any project, I'm not talking only about software. Project management is something, whatever you see right now has to be done for any given project, like scope, quality, time, budget. Budget is the main thing over here, risk, procurement, stakeholders, and overall integration. So these are the common activities, like kind of the activities they have to do individually. It's their job to do this particular thing. So now, I have been fortunate to work in organization where these things are done religiously in a approach, and in a process oriented approach. So I would like to share my view about that. When software architecture activities are done, how the project management part helps, what piece of project management part would be helpful. And then we will see that when project management activities for a software projects are done, what part of software architecture would be useful to them. How do they have a joint venture, how do they collaborate, and that is what we will be seeing now. So now here the software architecture work is going on, and let's take few of them, not all of them, but let's take few of them and go through it. Let's say when requirement analysis is happening. Now, why I said analysis is happening? Because for the project management and software architecture, this both things start at a very initial stage in greenfield situation. In brownfield, it is possible some project management activities are already done, and then you are jumping in for the software architecture part, or maybe you both are joining at a mid level. That is very, very much possible. But in both the cases, requirements is something for which groundwork is done. If it is a bigger organization, then of course there will be a requirements engineer who will be doing this work. And for you as an architecture professional, what matters to you is the requirements, the business goal is clear. so that using that you can come to an architectural goal, or using that you can come to a better design for that particular software. So when I say this, what does it mean, clarification of the business goals? So it's important for an architect professional to understand that why is that software getting developed, or what is the reason it is getting modified. Is it the market value what we are looking at? Is it that there is an extension happening? Is it that we are making any sensitive kind of software for military or for government, or is it for some space research work what we are going to do? That will give an idea on what should be the next step to design. So clarification of business goals is important for both, but the activity starts by the project management professional. So in the very initiating phase, these all things start happening. So probably for software architecture, it gets easy to go to project management professional and say that where can I get the requirements, or who is the contact point for me to get the requirements in the future when I want to get more information. So that helps him to be a connect point. Now, coming to the second step, which is very, very crucial for design part, which is very crucial part of software architecture work, is when somebody starts working on the design, or when somebody starts reviewing the design, at that time, important aspect what one should think about is influencing factors which are there. And I'm not going to cover all the influencing factors here, but organizational level influencing factors, where we need to understand what are the standard policies, what are the let's say processes which a company follows. Do we have some history for some kind of software which is similar kind developed earlier? Are there some frameworks which are already available in our organization which we should be using it? Is there any legal thing which we should take care of? Is it a global software that is getting developed? Then what would be the influencing factors? Is it going to get remotely installed in a place where internet connectivity is an issue? So these are kind of influencing factors which should be clear to software architecture professional. And again, as I told, some groundwork is done by project management professionals, so that comes from there. And the information, some information will come, and some as a professional you are supposed to get it. So that's where again a connectivity happens. You might see that I have highlighted quality attributes. From morning you have seen the sessions. Matthias talked about the quality attributes, and there is a mention of quality attributes in all of the sessions. When we talk about software architecture, architectural aspect, architectural goals are directly related to what quality of a software we are thinking about. So this is something where I will say not only software architecture or the project management professional should get involved, but also the quality assurance team should be there involved into it, and they can jointly think about the feasibility and see that, okay, for this particular let's say project, what is important? Is it performance? Is it security? Is it scalability? Or it is portability? What actually is required? And based on that, they even see what are the risk factor when a design is going to be implemented. Because on design level, you are going to decide which patterns you want to use, or which principles you want to use, and how are you going to make things easier to implement. So this is a crucial phase where some groundwork which is done by project management professional comes handy to take certain design decisions. When it comes to before we go to implementation, let's talk about evaluation. Now there is the design, and you want to evaluate whether it is in a proper given context, whether it is in line to what is asked for. Certainly evaluation part, where project management comes into picture. When you plan, there are chances that you have in-house team who can evaluate your software architecture, or sometimes you have to call people from external places. Having said that, here there is a direct impact on the cost. So this is something where the project management can help out to understand that what is the cost scenario, and can we go with our external or internal, or how are we going to plan. So when a software architecture team needs to, by the way, software architecture is usually developed by a small group of people. So this team usually can handle the thing themselves or they need to take help from someone. So here I was talking about the cost, and overall, if we see, software is all about efforts by, as we just likely discussed, it's all about human hours which go, which will be cost, direct impact to the cost. So efforts, when they are to be planned or when anything comes with respect to that, that has a direct connection with the project management part. Now coming back to the implementation, when we talk about implementation, that is something where team cooperation and the control on the schedule will be required, which is very much a project management area, and that would be helpful to the software architecture team, that when they guide people, when they support people, a kind of cooperation what they want comes easily. Coming to documentation, we already spoke about it, that there are some organizational policies, standards, and processes. If it is a government project or it is for military process, not all details go out. If it is a very data sensitive project what you're working on, then probably not everything has to go out. So there is an expected audience, and the architecture what you show has to be represented accordingly. So here again, your old history and everything comes handy, for which a project management team has already worked on. Coming to communication, maybe you must have heard about something called a stakeholder matrix or stakeholder analysis. That as a professional, as a software architecture professional, you don't do that, but probably you refer it. And when you want to refer it, again, project management is the team which can be helpful to you. And last but not the least, this is very, very important, which I would like to highlight to all of you, is with respect to maintenance. If people think that software architecture is probably a one-time job done, and then we will just follow the design, but that's not the case. Most of us need to understand that it goes till the end of the life cycle of the software, and maintenance is very, very important. If not done, we know it would result into software entropy, and to avoid that, or to delay that particular thing, there would be some tools, or there would be some metrics which you have to take care of. There should be a quarterly kind of monitoring on it, and to do that, probably you will have to discuss it with the project management team, because again, here the cost is coming into picture. You will have to have a team probably to do that, and this has to be jointly discussed and done. Technical debt, like 2 days back, I attended a workshop in our conference itself. Wonderful workshop given by Ismail Velasco, and there was really a discussion. He told us one strategy where we were supposed to say that these many bugs are there, and then based on that, analyze what would be the cost to, let's say, fix it. And then when that came to the picture from audience, there was a wonderful question that, am I supposed to do this cost calculation, or is someone else who is going to do this? So, I found it very interesting that there is a very thin line here. But yes, the technical aspect has to go from software architecture team. But when it comes to cost, it's the project management team's call to take action on it and help them out to take it further. So these are the real two things like we need to take care of. Now, coming to the second part, that when project management activities are done, how existing software architecture, or what can be gained from software architecture when the project management activities are done. So scope management, I already told that when scope is ready, some requirements are ready, even in an adaptive life cycle, the first draft can be ready for the software architecture. Some basic, you can at least plan that in the first iteration what's going to go. And if it is predictive, it's fantastic. We can work on the almost a great design. And then when it is to be planned, that work breakdown structures are to be created, who is going to work on what, which team will be there, how many teams will be there. At that time, software architecture professional is kind of a support to the project management team, a kind of information can come from him. Same way, controlling the scope is more with respect to dealing with the change board comes into the picture, and whether the change would be feasible enough to take it technically or not. Again, software architecture is something which will come handy to them to plan that thing. Time management, a biggest thing. If while designing architecture, if you have decided that you are going with microservices pattern, and maybe you have some involvement in the cloud, then what could be the infrastructure requirement, and which microservices is supposed to be deployed first? What could be the deployment plan? What sequence of activities should be the thing? So this is where the software architecture comes handy to the project management professional. Cost we have talked about a lot, and that's really the thing that ultimately it's I always say it's a devil's triangle. It's a scope, quality, cost, which around which these all things revolve around, and so this is where cost is the main thing for customer, and keeping that in mind, yeah, they have to work hand in hand. For procurement, as we likely discussed, that sometimes we need to think, are there any data center requirements coming up? Will we require some specific thing for test infrastructure? Will we require something for development infrastructure to be developed? All these things has to be discussed, so that the proper planning of this procurement can be done. Sometimes you decide to work on some free RDBMS or free data management systems like MariaDB, and then later on maybe your requirement is to go with some licensed version. So here procurement is a very important aspect, and that needs to be discussed with the software architecture professional before actual plan of procurement goes into thing. Quality, as I said, it's three teams who do it together. Resource management, a very important thing. Reason being, sometimes you don't have the required skills or the professionals who can work on the software. At that stage, maybe there is a fantastic design available, but then you don't have the skill set available. What can be done at that stage? So it is, if in prior we know that software architecture is in place, and in prior we know that some skill sets will be required, then it gets easy for a project management professional to plan for the trainings and make the resources ready. And stakeholder remains on top of everything. There are various stakeholders who are like directly or indirectly impacted with the project, and they all need to be communicated well. So the communication has to happen, I would say, in a very, very proper manner. That's the key. Otherwise, I would just quote an example here, that one of my project, we were like supposed to have DST taken care, because we just made the software for the Asian country where the daylight saving is not being followed. And then later on, because we were very specific that, oh no, we are not going to go global or something. And then there was a sudden customer coming from USA asking, interested in our software. So, these are the challenges where how do you communicate with your stakeholder, that when can we give that version, how is it going to come, it's because this will bring in a design change. So how do we go ahead with that? So that's where communication is the key. With this, I would say that, see, I lived both the world, as I said that in a service based company I got chance to see both the worlds. And I have seen that if there is fantastic design, doesn't mean that your software is a success. Or if there is a fantastic project manager who is managing the thing, doesn't mean that again you are delivering a great software. But yes, if you balance between the both, they have the synergistic effect to each other, and they are really vital to be together. They need to know how to communicate, at what point to communicate, to in the interest of the end result. I would say that well-designed structure, well-planned management, that would certainly bring in a successful, sustainable software. Now, this is one part, and as I likely told, there are two people. There's two people who are behind this, and that's software architect doing the background or back-end thing, sort of thing, working in the background, and project manager working in the front end for the people. And they need to consult each other. They are joint leaders, but they have to go hand in hand, and they enhance each other's power. So I definitely saw an organization where these roles were played by two different people, And now why I'm bringing their skills into picture is there is a very important aspect which I want to highlight over here, that as a software architect, your main forte always remains to be the technical expertise which is expected. And as a project leader, leadership is always on the top, or the motivation or managing conflict skills is always on the top, which is required, So some technical people who are probably outspoken or, kind of have communication skills, they start thinking probably they could be project manager as well. And so what I want to bring here is, of course, communication, negotiation, effective listening, and decision making is the common thing what they both should have. But again, they have their own skill set required for their area of the work. So merging these two roles or swapping is not so easy. And ideally, they both should be applying their skills, knowledge, tools, techniques to meet the desired outcome for a given context. And always there is a balance, as I said, between scope, quality, schedule, resources, and budget always remains on the project management side. Now, here I want to bring in one interesting thing that in our industry, as I said, we get chance to play various roles, or we got kind of get a lot of exposure to explore new areas and wear different hats. So I will take this slide with my own experience. I happen to be on technical side, the tech lead in one of the project, and because I was PMP certified, probably they thought that I could be a technical manager. And maybe that was not my willingness to be, but the need of the hour was for me to take up that role. And then I was given a brownfield, a brownfield project where there were issues, and I was supposed to jump into it and find out some solution to, stop the fortnightly releases which were happening, or the random releases which were happening. What was the benefit at that time? When I took up that role, benefit was only for the developers. Developers were happy that a technical person is coming up, and yes, we are going to get the solution, because there were a lot of piece of code which was requiring refactoring. So for them, it was a delight. For management, I see only one benefit was there, that it was only one person to be compensated for job of two people. And this worked well for the small size project, because it was a small size project, 5-6 people team was there, and that's the reason I accepted it. I said, okay, let me give a try, and let me see whatever small things or few things I know about project management. Let me apply to it. But real practical thing is different. When I took over the project, my technical head came up. The managerial cap was aside, and the technical person inside me said, okay, the exception handling is not done well, so first place we need to bring in change is this. Then releases are not well planned, let's plan the releases. Then I saw, existing software architecture document needs to be made current, so let's work on that. We should bring in good design templates, the high level design and low level design templates should be there. So I started kind of working. I took that this is the management which I'm supposed to do. And when the real challenge came, when I was supposed to estimate the time, it's not so easy to tell that how much time is it going to take to complete your software architecture, or how much time it will be taken behind a particular component. So I got into a research mode, and then one fine day I realized that what is happening on the cost level, what is happening on the time level. And then I started seeing that there is an increased workload. There is a design compromise which started happening. Management compromise was certainly done. Fortunately, we could bring this project to a good end, because I was fortunate to get good team, supportive people. But then we realized that our working hours started getting elongated. Weekends started getting into our project work, and the sleepless nights. Finally, for me, from project management side, there was more learning curve. I went into time crunch, people management, as I said, I was too much into, like, if developers are bringing in the whatever solution I give, if they are implementing it, then nothing like that. So I forgot there is another side where motivation has to happen. There has to be some sessions where they find themselves happy, willing to do the work. So that aspect of project management I could never think about. And ultimately what happened is, you compromise on the software's health, you compromise on human health as well. So, and there are many other challenges, but yes, as I said, for small size projects, this do work, because if you have a good supportive team, then that would take you. So lots of support is required if you have to play this combined role. And so seeing both the worlds, where systematically, so software architect is doing the software architecture work and project manager is doing the project management work, and they joint or they combine and they talk to each other as and when required. That was a wonderful thing. And on the other side, on the other side, I even saw this combined role. And with that, my conclusion is, this is my view. You might have a different view. I see, for larger projects, for larger enterprises, software architecture and project management, they complement each other. And it's advisable to have two different professionals doing two different roles. Changing hats might always be a challenging effort. Yeah, good if somebody is able to do, good for you, but I would prefer to be on one side. Though today I am associated with both the boards, I always still juggle with them. I always see, and software architecture always takes priority for me. I always feel I want to go behind that. So your inner technical person will always come out. That's why I would say that two different professionals with two different roles, they do a good job, and they are good to have, rather than just having one combined role. But it's a choice. And certainly, in any case, the goal remains the same, that is to have a successful and sustainable software. And that happens when both are very clear on their own area of work, both are very clear on their own area of interest. And the business context, of course, the business context is very, very clear. So, with this, I would like to just bring it to end to this session. There are some connect details. You can reach me on contact@hvdsoft.com. I'm there on Twitter. I'm there on LinkedIn. You can visit my company's website. And yeah, feel free to connect anytime with any questions you have. Before we move into question answer session, I would like to thank a few people. Firstly, to thank you to all of you for being here today. To the SAG 2022 team, Skills Matter, and everybody who is involved. You are doing a great job bringing in all the professionals from different area of the globe, different places from the globe. It's always a pleasure to be here in this gathering. iSAQB team for having me here, for making me give this session. They are always a family. And to all the supporters who helped me with this talk. So with this, I would say thank you to all of you. And yes, the backstage team, if we have any question and answer, we are open. We have 6 more minutes. Probably we can take some questions if they are there.
Yes, thank you too for this presentation. Thank you very much. And it's always nice to have you here at the conference. So there's the first question. Do you think a formal training is required when one needs to play the combined role?
This is interesting. As I said, I tried to do that. And yes, I understand that when you're a very technical person and you want to take the management role, the whole presentation was about it, that they have too many things of their own to do. They require very specific skills to do the task what they are doing. So, as a software professional, I might be technically very good, but I want to take a hat or a role of like project manager or a technical manager. I would say yes, some formal training or some sort of understanding on that subject would be very very beneficial. And if you take that, probably your challenges would be little bit less. However, I am kind of promoting that these two roles should be different in the company. Kindly do not combine only if it is a small project and you have that capacity of handling it. But you're not fortunate all the time. So I to have a good team or to have a cooperative team. So here I would say yes. Being technical and taking the management would require a formal training. And project management, when we say, it's not that you have to be from the software side. Earlier, I remember when I started working, the chemical engineers, the mechanical engineers started being the software developers. When the industry started, when the computer engineering or software engineering branch was just evolving. Today we have a lot, but at that point of time there were professionals who came from other. It was considered that if you're an engineer, you can work on it. So at that stage, what I want to say is, project management is something like general. The concepts of project management are so general that you can apply to any sort of project. Not necessarily you are supposed to be a software professional to handle a software project. So if you're planning for being to be a software like project manager and you want to jump into the technical side, there is a lot of learning curve, and you really need good formal training to get into it. Yeah, I do agree to that formal training is required.
Okay, thank you.
I took
I
it. I
think
took it. I tried, and
oh,
then
I
I said
understand.
no
Yeah.
project management. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
understandable. But yeah, that was perfect. Thank you.
yeah,
Great. And I agree, actually.
yeah, sure.
Next
Okay.
question. How can a solution architect handle the bureaucracy and the negotiations with the management to make software development easier? Interesting question.
Yeah, yeah, you face this. You face this. You go with the technical solutions, and you have interesting thing, and then your top management says that no, we don't have budget. We are not going. We won't be able to take this. Yes, definitely there are lot of soft skills or interpersonal skills required over here. And for everything, I will not say go to the training. These are some inherent or inbuilt skills which you need to, probably you have it, but you need to explore. As a student, probably you have done it, negotiating with your teachers or your college professors to get the information or learn the new things. So bring out that negotiation skills what you have. But on a technical ground, this was on lighter side. On technical ground, I will say that you need to come out of your technical shell. You need to face the world, and you need to understand there will be bureaucracy, there will be negotiation skill required. And the best thing is to tell them how is your solution going to benefit when it comes to market value, when it comes to the cost impact. That's the best way. You rather than getting into the internal politics of your organization, bring out saying, if you give this solution, show them the benefits. These are the benefits that will you get if you go ahead with this particular thing. Otherwise, see, you have to in our day to day life also, we have to deal with this is a challenge. In the bureaucracy or negotiations have to be done in our day to day life also, that we do with our siblings as well. I need your chocolate. How do you get the chocolate? Think about it. So this is a very very interpersonal skills, and certainly you learn from the world. You observe people and learn from the world. I hope I have answered the question.
Yes, I think you have. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think there are a couple of more questions.
Uh-huh.
Wow, this is interesting. Just wait a minute.
Yeah, we I think we have some time,
We
or
do
maybe
have some
then
time. I just
you can take the questions, and probably I can send across the answers for that. It's very much, I'm there in the conference for 2 days, so anytime.
That's okay. No, I think we do have time. I was just a bit confused with this. But okay, how to mitigate project risks in highly changing requirement projects. Okay, is
Yeah.
there any formula to calculate an accurate project estimate?
As I
Oh
said,
yeah, with a
software
very
overall.
ambiguous requirement. Sorry, this is a bit confusing
Yeah,
that
it's
this
a
is in
lengthy one.
Texas.
It's
Yeah.
lengthy one. I can answer this, but to just cut short the thing, that software, as I said, it's a very intangible thing, and changing requirements is the first challenge which is there. So certainly there are some measurable follow like formulas available, but you can't say the way you apply it to any other engineering discipline, it would not be thing. But yes, you can reach to a mark. Sure, there are ways to handle it. Yeah, there are you know there are formulas which we can apply, and to at least to reach to a calculative stage, or at least reach to a deliverable state. And we are into adaptable world, agile is there, so it talks all about this kind of situations. Certainly, yeah, it is there.
Okay, sorry again about this. The question was a bit long, so
No
this
problem.
whole thing happened. Sorry, but I think that was great. Okay, so I think because of the time, we should end this here. I know
Sure.
that there are more questions coming in, and there are more questions already in the Q&A section, but you can also use the chat to answer questions if you like. And there are also discussion rooms and a networking area where you can discuss anything you would like to talk about. Discussion rooms are open tonight at 6:15. Please also use the chat. And sorry that we have to make a break now.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Thank you. Thank
Anyway,
you,
thank you.
everyone. Yeah, and bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.